I will now call the October 17th Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. If you would stand with me, observe a moment of silence, and I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I want to welcome you in attendance as those that might be watching on cable TV 7 to tonight's City Council meeting. The next item is the consent agenda. Councilman Carter asked that I pull item F. If there are no other items to be pulled, I accept the motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Quabell,
Aye.
Councilman Levesey, Councilman Fowler,
Aye.
Councilman Carter,
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson,
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper,
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Councilman Carter on adoption of Resolution 58-2016.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I start my comments on this, obviously the last week that we've had in the city of Blue Springs has been a test unlike many suburban city police departments face. Captain Snyder, you're sitting in the hot seat for all of this, so congratulations to you and the department as well. I thought you came off great, got everything done that needed to be done, and protected our citizens, which is our highest calling. So I just want to start by congratulating the police department. All right. Absolutely. As a governing body, I don't think there's any higher calling we have than to equip our police department with what it needs to get the job done, to protect our citizens, and then go home safely to your families. I grew up in a cop household. I know all about that. So I salute you for all that you do. When we come to the motorcycles, when I first heard about this, I asked a simple question. I thought it was a simple question. What is the public safety need for a motorcycle division for the city of Blue Springs? And I never really got an answer to that question. I got, this is how we can use the motorcycles, this is what they can do, but I never got an answer to my question, how is it helping with public safety? So I came here tonight prepared to vote against it, and about 3 weeks ago, I was coming out of the country club. My bank sits right in front of the country club, and right by it went a funeral procession. And within that funeral procession were 3 of our SUVs. And I thought, shouldn't our SUVs be doing something else? So I called Marty Myers, who's a good friend of mine, and he said, going back to Chief Brown, the agreement has been that the city of Blue Springs, the police department gets involved in funeral processions. It's a public service, and I get that. But with what happened last week, it's clear that our regular police cars, if you will, need to be available to do other things. And so I asked Marty, if motorcycles would work in funeral processions, and he said absolutely, he'd love to have them. So my guess is that's one of the uses for the motorcycle patrol. And if that's the case, I will be behind it. Because again, our job here is to give the police department all the tools they need to get the job done, to protect our citizens, and go home safely to your families. So I'll be supporting it.
Let me put things in perspective. When I became mayor in 2008, one of the first things I did is I appointed a public safety task force to work with the police department, determine what are some of the changes or what are some of the needs we can do to make this department even better than it was. Included in that task force was then preacher, but prior to that, the first African-American Blue Springs police officer, Greg Washington, then circuit court judge, and now city prosecutor, Vernon Scoville, and former city council member who was a reserve Kansas City police officer that became vice chairman of the Public Safety Citizens Advisory Board, Emil Spears. They worked with the police department and came up with about 20 or 22 recommendations. One of the most notable recommendations was to reestablish the Public Safety Citizens Advisory Board, which was no longer in existence. One of the other notable ones is to no longer have the rotation of 3 captains to fill in as deputy chief, but to actually have a deputy chief of police position. And one of the very last ones after 8 years is to have a motorcycle unit, of which we have before us tonight. And I agree with Councilman Carter. What this does is give our police department more tools in their toolbox, and also brings us up to par with every major metropolitan police department in this region. They're very good looking. I want to applaud Captain Edwards and the people that work with him, because they are good looking units. I mean, they don't take a back seat to anything. And I don't know, can you put this up? Can you put this on the screen, one of you? I just want to show you guys what it looks like. And it's something that we can be proud of, because one of the things that we do in Blue Springs, we don't do things haphazardly. We do it first class, because we are a first class community. And we'll have Dan kind of show you what it looks like. Yeah, that gives you some indication of what it looks like. It's a little washed out there, but once you see them, once we purchase it and get it equipped, it's something you'd be very proud of. And motorcycles can go to places and get to places that vehicles can't get. And I don't want to prolong the meeting because I know we have a lot going on, but my wife and I were near the intersection of 7 Highway and Vesper last Thursday when this outrageous person trying to outrun the police department coming in from Lafayette County and the highway patrol and all whipped by us like a bat out of Hades. And I was just about to switch lanes, and I happened to look in my rear view mirror, and I saw this white car coming like something like an idiot, and didn't pull out in front, because if I had, we'd have been creamed. Then once he hit a car at Vesper and 7 Highway, and his car spun around in the middle of the 7 Highway, he jumped out and started running. And maybe a motorcycle could have come in handy at that time too, because a car, I don't know where he hid, but he took off running. I didn't chase him, because I had to stay with my wife. Otherwise, I'd have probably been out there trying to chase him too, which wouldn't have been smart. But anyway, there are just a lot of opportunities, and I have a lot of faith and confidence in our police department. They're going to utilize it to the best of their ability, and doing the things that need to be done with Federal's additional tools in your toolbox, Captain Snyder. So, that being said, I would accept a motion for approval. Councilman Carter, would you like to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have the introduction of Regional Bill 4447. And I'd like to introduce it.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of bill number 4447, an ordinance approving final plat for Blue Springs Commercial Center, Lot 1.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second reading of bill number 4447, an ordinance approving final plat for Blue Springs Commercial Center, Lot 1.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance
No
number.
second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Lefsey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Quibell?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4620.
Next, we have the adoption of a resolution 59-2016. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please note that Councilman Lavasey is now present.
Noted.
Okay. Next, we have introduction and reading of Bill 4448. Anyone like to
I'll
introduce it?
introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of bill number 4448, an ordinance approving final plat for Blue Springs Dollar General.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second reading of bill number 4448, an ordinance approving final plat for Blue Springs Dollar General.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4621.
Next, we have adoption of resolution 60-2016.
Move to adopt resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have introduction and reading of Bill 4449. Need an introducer?
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of bill number 4449, an ordinance approving final plat for Ward Properties.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second reading of bill number 4449, an ordinance approving final plat for Ward Properties.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance
Is there
number.
a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously and given ordinance number 4622.
Next, we have a public hearing on a rezoning of the woodlands at Chapman Farms. Need to read it.
Mayor, the city has the following exhibits to enter into the record. Exhibit 1, City Council Information Form with attachments, Planning Commission Staff Report with attachments, Site Location Map, Site Aerial Map, Survey Map with legal descriptions of rezoning tracts, Affidavit of Publication in the Examiner on September 10th, 2016, Application with attachments, 185-foot notification map, name addresses of property owners within 185 feet of site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and Bill number 4450 rezoning property with Exhibit A, and this is all we have to offer for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, on behalf of the city?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, and members of the council. Again, before you this evening is a request by the applicant, Robert Frost, for the Woodlands at Chapman Farms LLC. Mr. and Mrs. Frost are looking to request a rezoning of their 151.1 acre property. It's shown on the map there in front of you and on the overhead. It shows the existing zoning as well as what is proposed for their rezoning here before you this evening. They're proposing to rezone the existing GB General Business, CB Central Business, and SF7 Single Family District to GB MF14, which is Moderate Density Multifamily, and SF7. The area is specifically looking at approximately 124 acres of SF7. That's the bulk of the property there in the middle. And 18.5 acres of MF14, which is, you can see there kind of in the middle along 7 Highway. And then kind of flanked to the north and south by approximately 8.7 acres of GB General Business. The rezoning request is consistent with the goals of the 2014 Comprehensive Plan. I can show you as well here some of the comprehensive plan designations as well. If you recall, the comprehensive plan did go through a few specific area plans when it was initially adopted, and one of those is the S1 neighborhood in the south area. This property before you this evening was included in that S1 specific plan, and you can see here the colors are a little different depending on which you're looking at. but you can see some open space in terms of the green area, and then also a mix of moderate density and some commercial as well in retail. So it is fitting essentially with the proposal from the comprehensive plan. And I should also conclude here with the Planning Commission recommending approval at their meeting on October 10th for you here this evening. And staff will be available here for any questions should there be any.
Are there any questions, Mr. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Councilman Culpepper?
The section that is going to go to general business, they're requesting the general business, how deep is that property? My question concerns not ending up with a strip center as it gets developed. So are we gonna have enough depth there that we can avoid those strip center sections like we have on so many sections of 7 Highway?
Very good question, Your Honor, and Councilman Culpepper. It is, in general, more than the 300 feet that you typically see along 7 Highway. That's a very good question. At places, it's almost 600 feet deep at the north end. It does, as you can see here, kind of, there's this curve here. So it kind of fluctuates depending on where you are, but it's anywhere, I guess, about 400 to 600 feet versus the 300 you normally see with existing development along 7 Highway.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Carter?
Well, Scott, when we went through the comprehensive plan, did we not design it so that we didn't have strip centers along 7 Highway, that they would be set back in a different kind of design? And is this plan conforming to that?
That's true, and again, I should be a little bit more clear here. Let me draw here. This area, as I was drawing before, is not really commercial. That's the multifamily. So the commercial is at the north and then at that south. So you are correct. It's not strip development in terms of commercial or retail. It may look like it's strip development in terms of the multifamily in the middle here. But again, the idea with the comprehensive plan is looking at these nodes, and that's exactly what the applicant is proposing here this evening.
That answer your question, Councilman?
Yes.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you. Would the developer like to come be sworn in and make comments? Are you satisfied with what Mr. Scott presented? Mr. Frost?
I think I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Questions from the
All right, good. All right, we'll go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in support of? You like to speak in support of?
I have a question.
No, you have to be sworn in. We won't accept the question back. You have to be sworn in if you want to talk. This is a public hearing.
Okay.
Do you want to be sworn in and speak in support? Do you want to be sworn in and speak in support of?
Yes.
Okay, come on up. The stenographer will swear you in. Right there.
Yes, I do.
State your name and your address.
My name is Charles D. Driscoll. I live in Autumn Chase subdivision. My question was, and this came up years ago when Walmart was gonna go in down on 7 Highway. The question is, how many outlets is gonna be going out on the 7 Highway from this building? We're here. How many outlets is going on the 7 Highway? And how many is going out onto Moreland School Road?
This project is south of Moreland School Road. This is down south.
Okay?
And I'm not sure what your question,
How many outlets are there coming out on the 7 Highway?
how many curb cuts?
Curb breaks where a car
From
can go out on the 7 Highway?
Okay, from where to where?
From anywhere on that, in that shopping center, how many breaks are there on 7 Highway to get out on the 7 Highway?
Okay, Scott, you want to answer that, or Chris?
Mr. Driscoll, in the initial plan that they've shown us, there's one major street that'll come out at Cowherd Road, and then there'll be right in, right out accesses along 7 Highway. It would appear that there would be 3, possibly 4, but those will not be full break accesses to cross the highway for left turns, and they're just right in, right out.
You satisfied with that?
Not only do I have to be satisfied, the Missouri Department of Transportation has to be satisfied.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience like to speak in support of? In support of? In opposition to? Opposition to? We'll close this public hearing. Anyone like to introduce it?
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4450, an ordinance rezoning property from GB General Business, CB Central Business, and SF7 Single Family District to GB General Business, MF14 Moderate Density Multifamily, and SF7 Single Family District.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4450, an ordinance rezoning property from GB General Business, CB Central Business, and SF7 Single Family District to GB General Business, MF14 Moderate Density Multifamily, and SF7 Single Family District.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, given ordinance number 4623.
Next, we have a presentation by the Mid-Continent Public Library. Mr. Stephen Potter, would you come up and tell us what you want to tell us?
I think there's a lot of overdue books up here. That's what I'm here to tell you. Just joking. Thanks a lot for having me here tonight, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about the future of the library, and talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we have planned for the city of Blue Springs with the library. With me tonight, which probably doesn't need any introduction here in town, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've got Jacqueline Reed, who's the branch manager of the Blue Springs South branch. I've got Robin Hudson, who's the branch manager of the North branch. And I just want to take a few moments to talk to you a little bit about Mid-Continent. Now, just in terms of reference for you, and we did put together a really large packet in an effort not to kill any trees. We put it online for your online system, which is hopefully you can refer to that at your leisure if that's something you would prefer to do. Mid-Continent Public Library is one of the largest political subdivisions in the state of Missouri. We have 780,000 residents, about 1,400 square miles, and that makes us more populous than 4 states. We are comprised of 35 locations. We loaned 9.2 million items annually last year. That was our second best year ever in terms of activity. So in an era where everybody's got Kindles and iPads, we had our second best year ever. That Mid-Continent Public Library is still a very good return on investment. For every $1 in revenue, we generate $4.03 in service. And we calculate that every year. That's actually up from it's $4.03 this year, is up from $3.50 last year. So good return on investment. For more information about these sort of statistics, that comes on the at a glance that's on page number 27. The 2 Blue Springs libraries, though, did loan 780,000 items. That's an average of 14 items per capita, and are experiencing increases. So people in Blue Springs are reading, which is a very, very good thing. Yesterday, Mid-Continent Public Library was a book warehouse and distribution service. That we were a place to go to get great service, but generally you were confined to get that service in the hours of operation when the library was open. So yesterday, Mid-Continent Public Library and the people who helped create Mid-Continent Public Library did create a very good library service, a good foundation for all of us to use over the last 50 years. Today, Mid-Continent Public Library, though, has become so much more. And I always like to talk about 2 programs that we have going on at Mid-Continent that a lot of people don't know about, but are really, really important. One of them focuses on school readiness and helping all children in the library district read at grade level proficiency by 3rd grade. We call this our Grow a Reader program, and we accomplish this through 3 primary programs. One of them is our literacy-based story times. So it's the types of things that we've all experienced for years ourselves, either ourselves or our children or our grandchildren have experienced, and just being just a tad bit more intentional. But by doing that, we're helping to ensure that by the time children reach age 5, they're ready to start school. We also have a program called 1,000 Books by Kindergarten. Real simple remedy. We've all heard about the word gap, where a lot of kids don't necessarily hear all the words and aren't exposed to language. So we have a remedy for that. Simply read 1,000 books to your children by kindergarten, and then you'll help close that word gap. Now, 1,000 books sounds like a lot, but it's not, because you all know that you read the same book over and over and over again to little kids. And so once you've done that, you can actually close that word gap, and it's a real simple thing for you to do. We also have our summer reading program, which I participated in the summer reading program for Mid-Continent when I was growing up. And what summer reading program does is it helps to combat summer slide. So kids don't forget everything in the summer that they learned all school year. And we've actually been working on a study, long-term study, to prove that point. And we've been doing that for a long time, and we do prove that. So that when children live in at-risk categories, they actually close that summer slide at a better rate than other children. So Grow a Reader is program number 1 that helps all the children, regardless of where they are in the community, what their status, what their opportunity, gives them all opportunity to be able to enter school ready to learn. The second one is our Square One small business focus and our work around small business and creating a job-ready workforce. We do this in a couple of different ways. Square One small business. Last year, I just like to bottom line this because it's the easiest way to do it. Last year, we helped launch 45 small businesses. Mid-Continent Public Library did that. Now, this is no offense to any EDCs or chambers of commerce or anybody else out there, but there are some chambers of commerce that don't launch 45 small businesses, or SCORE may not launch 45 small businesses in a year, but your library does. That's what a modern public library can do. And we do this through a lot of efforts, through programs, through workshops, through creating a community of folks. We've also done things around small business and free courses on several topics, including learning a language on your own time, at your own rate of learning. Lots of other online classes to help people learn the skills necessary to become job ready. So that when you go into your workplace and you discover they've went from one version of Windows to another version and they haven't given you the training, you can actually go to Mid-Continent Library, and we've actually got people who can help you with that. Can either through short little video vignettes, or you can take online training courses, or our staff can also help you with those things. Another thing that I always like to talk about is Career Online High School, which again is it's in the packet, and I always like to talk about Career Online High School because it's life-changing. Basically what we do is we identify adults who made the worst mistake in their life and dropped out of high school. And inevitably, these folks know that they made the worst mistake in their life, usually about 5 years after the fact. And they're trying to think, gosh, how do I get the toothpaste back in the tube? Well, we've got a remedy for that. All they have to do is come and take the entrance exam. If they meet that entrance exam, then we set them up with a tutor, with a coach, and we get them a high school diploma. Now, I want to repeat that. I didn't say an equivalency. I didn't say a high set. It's a certified high school diploma by the same agencies that certify high schools all over the United States. And on top of that, we get them career training in one of 6 different career fields. So what we're basically talking about is somebody who may have made the worst mistake in their life and they can't figure out how to get their life on track. If they come to the library, we'll help them get their life back on track and help them get career trained and ready to go. So, and on top of that, we're still checking out 9.2 million books and doing the traditional things that you expect of a public library. So today's investment in Mid-Continent Public Library has made our library not only relevant, but also very innovative. But tomorrow we can be so much more. We can be a place that fosters collaboration and helps to build a stronger community. And how are we going to do that? Well, we can do that through creating purposeful spaces for different kinds of use as we invest in our facilities. And this actually did culminate in a facilities assessment and improvement plan, which again is in your packet. It's won't go into the great details of that, but some of the highlights of that. All of you have been in our buildings. Our buildings are great big open spaces. They're warehouses. And what we're proposing to do is that we want to build walls around our programming space. And what that will allow is it allow our kids who are going there to learn those basic literacy skills, be excited, to sing songs, to do the things that they want to do in order to learn without disrupting the small business owners who are trying to write a business plan and all of that. So we'll build walls around our programming space for that end. It'll also allow people to use that programming space to help build stronger communities. When we're not programming in it, other people can use that. And that could be everything from a PTA group to a neighborhood association, or maybe just somebody who wants to talk about the topics of the day. We're also looking at building what we call small collaboration rooms, a 5 by 10 room, probably 2 of them in each of our Blue Springs branches. And again, the idea is that this could be for tutoring, it could be for people to get business counseling, any number of different skills, just pretty much any place where you need that super quiet traditional library experience. Then you could be in there and you could still have that experience. We're going to enhance our outdoor space so people can sit outside and use our libraries, because outside in Missouri is a decent time most of the year. And in order to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to create outdoor benches, we're going to pump our Wi-Fi out into the parking lot, and we're going to collaborate and cooperate with the Art Commission in order to bring more artwork onto our space. And Mother and Child has been at Blue Springs North, and we're getting ready to move Breath over to Blue Springs South really soon. In fact, Jacqueline told me that they just spray painted the lawn so that we know where to build the pedestal, and that's getting ready to come real soon. So we're going to be participating in the public art at our libraries, and we're very excited about that. Bottom line is we want to take our library service to the people, whether those people are in our building, in cyberspace, or even someplace else. So tomorrow's investment in Mid-Continent Public Library can make the library vital and relevant for the next generation, just like it was relevant and vital for me growing up in the greater Kansas City area. But what we determined was Mid-Continent Public Library cannot do all of those things without additional resources. So the board took the past several months to develop plans and to consider our finances, to weigh our wants versus our needs, and determine what we actually needed to provide in order to be that relevant, important community service for the next generation. Ultimately, they decided to place a question before the voters and to ask for additional resources for the first time in a generation. The last time we asked voters to increase their rate, to pay more for their library tax, was 1983. And so we figure it's time for us to ask people, again, what they think about their library and what they think about our plans. This question will be on the November ballot. The increase will be less than the cost of one hardbound book per household based on the average home value in the Mid-Continent Public Library District. The board came together around the idea that Mid-Continent Public Library should invest in the future by providing more access. What does more access mean? Extended hours. It means things like broadening out our broadband and making sure that people can access our resources, how they need it, when they need it, and in the ways that make most sense for them. That we want to improve our buildings. And we talked a lot about buildings already, but access buildings, stronger collections so that we can continue to have all the new types of collections and new types of information that people are interested in having, and also continue to do things like our 3-to-1 holds ratio, which a lot of people like that. The fact that for every 3 holds that we have, we buy 1 copy of a book. As if our revenues can't stay strong, then we can't keep ratios like that. So that's an important thing. And then finally, improving more meaningful services, things like Square One, services like our small businesses initiatives, and continuing to make those, to build those out beyond where they are even today. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about Proposition L, or about your libraries, or specifically about your particular branches that you have here in Blue Springs.
Any questions, Mr. Potter? Councilman Fowler?
Yes. Thank you for all you do for the library and for our community, you and all the staff. I appreciate Mid-Continent Library, and there's nothing more important than reading and education. I guess you provided us with the 10-year plan.
Yes.
And where the investments were going, a number of really nice improvements around the metropolitan area. They looked like they'd be great. I did see items 3 and 4 were for the North and South libraries here in Blue Springs, and it looks like an investment over the next 10 years of $1.1 million, according to that. Noticed Grain Valley, I think they've been behind $7 million heading towards Grain Valley, a city quite a bit smaller than ours. Independence was $14.7 million compared to the 1.1, and then Lee Summit was $16.7 million. So that looks like an awful lot of money, like 38 million plus going to our neighbors, but 1.1 going to here is, and I just didn't know how balanced that really was for Blue Springs.
I think it's a fair question. And a couple things to keep in mind about Grain Valley, for example, right now, we don't own a facility in Grain Valley. We're just leasing a facility. So part of what's going on there is the idea that we're acquiring new property, building up from the ground up. And so that's part of what's going on in Grain Valley. Part of that is also the same story in Independence. We're actually looking to build what we're calling an East Independence branch. Depending upon where the East Independence branch is, you may view it as the West Blue Springs branch or the East Independence branch, depending upon where we ultimately end up putting it. But in terms of service area, and that's what we were looking at, is where's our fastest growing service areas. What we're calling the East Independence branch in our plan is actually serving the northern part of Blue Springs as well, the northern and the western part of Blue Springs. Similar things happening with Lee Summit as well. They're actually getting a brand new unit of service, in part because they have 2 buildings just like Blue Springs does, and there's about 30 to 40,000 more people there.
Sure.
And so that's where some of that comes up. But all of that planning did come up with a lot of the work with the Mid-America Regional Council, with our census projections, and determining where the growth was going to be and making sure that we put it in the right place.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a question.
Well, right now it's our council that's talking. I really like in Independence the genealogy theme. And I know in years past, we've had some discussion that maybe at some point in time, there might be a theme for Blue Springs. At the time is back when we had the Innovation Park, and that's kind of now gone out of the picture, so. But anyway, we want to continue to think in those terms.
Sure.
And I don't know what that theme is, but it would be nice to maybe as it deals with economic development, I don't know. But anyway, one of the things I can tell you, since I've already voted absentee, it's a very long ballot, beginning with the president. And people need to remember, to be able to be supportive of the library, it's the very last item on the ballot. So you just can't vote for president and quit. You got to go to the end to be able to support you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mayor.
Johnson.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Steve, I want to just say thank you for your partnership here in Blue Springs and in your entire district. The fact that your district has not gone to the voters to ask for any increase since 1983, that's just tremendous, and I think you guys have done an outstanding job. As the father of 4 kids, they use your South Library all the time. We are engrossed in your storytelling time that you have. And my 4-year-old's 2 favorite books are The Cow Loves Cookies and The Duck Likes Quackers. I almost have those books memorized. And
Right.
You provide a great service to the community. And, in the age of Netflix and video games and YouTube and Minecraft, there can't be enough said about getting involved in your local library, going there, being present, and of course your online presence. You guys provide a great product, so thank you. I know how I'll be voting.
Thank you.
Well, Stephen's in charge of the Mid-Continent Public Library at this point, but what he didn't tell you, he started where?
Well, it's called Blue Springs back then. There was no Blue Springs North.
Right.
Right.
Just wanted to bring that up, that the roots are here. Thank you so much for that, and hopefully people will be able to support you. You've gone a long time. You've continued to provide a lot of service based on income or revenue that you've gotten, and to be able to keep up and provide what people want, you have to address those modern day needs, and it costs.
So thank you so much for coming and making that presentation.
One thing I would like to say is that I did bring a few of these, and I'm just gonna, these are information only. They are not, they do not advocate one direction or another, but I will leave these so that if any member of the public would like to pick these up and find out more, and they are available at both branches as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be around if anybody in the audience has a question for you later
Certainly,
on.
I certainly can make myself available.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation on the assessment of fair housing. Mr. Wright.
All right, thank you, Mayor and City Council. Before you this evening is a request to approve the assessment of fair housing, which was conducted by the Mid-America Regional Council with the assistance of Blue Springs and 4 other collaborating communities. The purpose of this assessment is to analyze the challenges to fair housing choices, both at the local and the regional level, and for communities to develop goals and strategies that will increase housing choices, especially for members of protected classes. The assessment of fair housing is required to be approved by HUD prior to approval of the next 5-year consolidated plan, which for Blue Springs is required to be submitted in August 2017. The City of Blue Springs did hold 2 public hearings to gather feedback from the public in July and August. Based on that feedback, the city developed 7 local goals that were presented to the CDBG Advisory Committee on September 27th. The committee had a few comments and concerns about some of the goals, especially the goals related to education and workforce development, which the city would not be able to take a lead role in. After discussing these concerns with HUD's consultants, the 3 goals related to education and workforce development were removed, and the 4 goals that remain include the continued funding of the minor home repair program, providing assistance to low-income and older adult homeowners to avoid property code violations, reviewing local codes to incentivize the construction of accessible units in higher density and mixed-use locations, and to continue funding the first-time homebuyers program. In addition to the 4 local goals, there are 23 regional goals that the city will participate in with other collaborating communities, MARC, HUD, and various nonprofits. We have Marlene Nagel, the Director of Community Development with the Mid-America Regional Council, here to give an overview of the assessment of fair housing and the final steps of submitting the assessment to HUD. And I'll be happy to answer any questions following her presentation.
Any questions, Mr. Wright? Welcome, Ms. Marlene Naylor.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, thank you for considering this issue this evening, and I want to thank Matt Wright for his help in the preparation of the plan. To advance the slides. Matt spoke about the purpose of this plan, and every 5 years the city prepares a consolidated plan for looking at ways to invest their HUD funds to support people in your community and neighborhoods. In advance of that, the city and other cities are required to look at fair housing challenges facing their communities and identify steps they might take, and then consider whether the HUD funds or other resources might be used to address those challenges. In addition to Blue Springs, we have been working with the City of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, Leavenworth, Kansas, and Independence, Missouri. As Matt said, we worked hard to engage the community in the development of this plan. We held 2 series of public meetings, one to present a lot of data and maps and begin to get input from the community about goals. And then second, we had some draft goals and strategies and asked for some feedback about them. In addition to public meetings, we had online surveys, and we advertised the plan meetings and websites through a variety of sources, including social media. These were some of the materials that we handed out. We tried to make them colorful and engaging so that people would participate in our process. Through our surveys, we asked people about what they cared about, what barriers they faced, and how the community could assist them. We produced a lot of data and a lot of maps. I know the report is part of your packet this evening. We also looked at an extensive set of goals and strategies and asked the community which ones they thought might be best suited for action. What the public told us, in general, what we know from our history as a region, and what continues today is there is segregation. We are seeing, though, more of a dispersal of residents throughout our region seeking better opportunity. The people who participated in our planning process told us they liked their neighborhoods, they liked their communities. In some cases, they wanted to see conditions improve. Some of the issues that we heard across the 5 communities that we worked with, problems of safety, the condition of vacant properties and rental housing, the need for more affordable housing in the community, the desire for greater home ownership and greater access to jobs and transportation. What we found when we asked people about their rights under the Federal Fair Housing Act was that many people didn't know their rights, or if they felt they had been discriminated against, they didn't know how to take action to get their needs addressed. What they did tell us they would like to see was increasing accessible housing. We found that very few housing units are available throughout our metro area to serve persons with disabilities. In some cases, landlords were not providing the upkeep of rental housing. We heard a need for low-income homeowners to have some support in addressing minor repairs for their homes. We heard about the need and interest in fair housing education and counseling services, and more opportunities for home ownership, and then the need to improve public transit service. The assessment had a number of sections that dealt with both looking at how do we improve communities and neighborhoods, as well as how do we help people get greater access to opportunity. We looked at patterns of segregation, and throughout our region, we have areas where there are high concentrations of both persons of color and persons in poverty. And those areas that had the greatest concentrations were primarily non-white, but we are finding them throughout the community, and particularly persons in poverty, as it is suburbanizing. Some of our findings is that while our region overall is becoming more diverse, the Black population in our region continues to be highly segregated, and foreign-born persons, particularly those from Mexico, continue to live in very concentrated parts of Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. And persons with disabilities in our community continue to, are more likely to live in areas of concentrated poverty. We looked at areas of opportunity like those we find in Blue Springs. And we found that in general, Black and Hispanic residents are more likely to live in low school proficiency attendance areas. And so Blue Springs and portions of Independence had very low minority populations. Foreign-born residents, particularly our newer immigrants with families, they tended to live in neighborhoods that are served by schools with special services, and those tended to be in the Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas school districts. And we found that in general, Black and Hispanic adults had lower educational attainment that limited their ability to access better paying jobs. We looked at access to jobs, and we found that about 60% of the region's jobs are in suburban locations, and out of 1.2 million jobs in our region, only 24,000 of those 1.2 million are in areas where there is concentrated poverty. But we know that location is only one factor, and educational achievement also limits job prospects. And so some of the strategies that we looked at, as Matt mentioned, look at ways to help people increase educational opportunity, strategies like those that the Mid-Continent Public Library is offering. And then we looked at persons with disabilities, that they're less likely to be employed and have lower earnings and income. With regard to transportation, the center part of our community has better public transit service in general, and transit access to suburban jobs is very limited. In fact, we found that about 41% of all of the region's residents have access to public transit, but they can only get to about 9% of the region's jobs. we're working to try and improve that. We looked at environmental conditions, including older industrial areas, the lack of access to goods and services like grocery stores, and walkability. We looked at the location and the presence of publicly supported housing, whether it be public housing, which there are no units in Blue Springs, to the low-income housing tax credit program, housing choice vouchers, where individuals can go anywhere in a community to find units to meet their needs, and other older project-based units. And out of the 51,000 publicly supported housing units in the region, less than 500 are in the city of Blue Springs. We found, though, that in general, white households that have access to this publicly supported housing are more likely to live in suburban locations than Black and Hispanic households. So we found some issues that we're working with communities and public housing authorities to address. With regard to discrimination, we found, as I mentioned, that many people are unlikely to report a case of alleged discrimination. Those complaints are generally based on race and disability, and just under half are filed in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And we feel in part that's because they have nonprofit organizations and city services really promoting fair housing. As Matt mentioned, the goals and strategies to you, I won't go over them again, but with that, we'd be happy to answer your questions. I might mention that the steps in front of us would be to seek your approval of the plan and authorize it being submitted to HUD. We would then work with the 5 cities to complete the plan for submittal to HUD by November the 3rd, which is the deadline. And then it will be used as a guide to assist the city in the development of your consolidated plan.
Are there any questions, comments? Councilman Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for that presentation. I guess just to make a point right off the bat is that HUD CDBG funds don't go to every community. Basically, you have to have a certain threshold of residents. I think it's like 50,000 before you start getting into that. And there was a time Blue Springs didn't get that funding, and now we do. And so we are really one of the smaller cities in the metro area that do get that funding. But going through the report, what I recognized is that Blue Springs kind of stood out in comparison to some other cities in the study relative to 2 programs, the minor home repair program and the first time buyers. And I thought it was great to have that recognition in the report, and you know, that we should continue to fund those priorities as they are showed up high on this list. So,
good point. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank both of you for that presentation. Next, we have the adoption of the assessment of the fair housing. So Resolution 61, 2016. Is there a motion to adopt it?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have a presentation by Carrie Newman on the S from SFS Architecture. And this is a group that designed and the field house.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Carson, Ross, and City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come here this evening and present the where we are, the status of the City Hall complex. Let's jump right into it. The goals that we have for this evening are just to give you an update on the process and the progress to date. We also want to just make sure that we're in alignment with your goals and your expectations for the project. Our agenda this evening is to review the overall project goals that we've set for the project. We did a condition assessment of the existing building, so we'll review that. We've also developed a space needs summary, a program summary for the City Hall complex, and we'll run through that. We have a proposed site plan and floor plans, and then some very preliminary concept drawings of the exterior and interior of the City Hall. And then before I really get into the presentation, I want to introduce Kelsey Mahoney here, and then Kevin Stigler is here as well from our firm. I also want to thank your your staff. We started working on this project in late April, so we've been working on it for almost 6 months now. And these take a lot of time, and I know your staff is very busy. They have their day-to-day duties that they have to fulfill, and they've been they've been excellent to work with and always accessible and giving us feedback. So I really appreciate that from your staff. As far as the project goals go, thank you. Project goals are to provide a renovation and expansion of the City Hall. The things that we're really trying to achieve is to create a comfortable, highly functional, and a safe space for your employees and the citizens. We also understand it's very important to maintain a strong visual and functional presence in downtown with the City Hall complex. So that was high on the goal list for us. And then the function of the current City Hall has really changed a lot over the years since I think the last renovation was in 1989 for the building. And so a lot of the functions have changed drastically. So there is a real need to reconfigure the space so that it works best for employees and really is able to serve the citizens. But also to build in flexibility to meet future growth and changes over the next 25 to 30 years. As far as the condition assessment, this is really the first step that we took in the process, was to go through and look at the annex and the City Hall and the site and really get an understanding of what the physical conditions are in the building. We found that a lot of the conditions had to do with codes that have changed over the years, ADA accessibility issues that have changed over the years since the last renovation. So that was one of the big issues that we found throughout the site and building. As far as and we broke this down into some major categories that you see on in your packet and on the screen. In general, the exterior of the building is in relatively good condition. There are some minor issues with the exterior, but in general, the buildings have good bones. So a lot of the changes have to do with interior systems, mechanical, electrical systems, code issues, and just the need to reconfigure the space to meet your current needs. As far as the site, the parking lot, there, again, a lot of ADA issues with the existing parking lot. And as you know, the site slopes pretty drastically in the parking lot, and so that's an issue that our plan addresses. As I mentioned, the building exterior is generally in good condition, but there are some minor issues with entry doors and security. As far as the building interior, again, a lot of this has to do with lack of accessibility. There's no elevator in the building. The stairs that serve between floors don't meet current code as far as egress capability. So a lot of the building interior has to do with some of those code issues. Also, just the interior finishes in the building are outdated and a little bit worn. That could really stand to be updated. So as far as lighting goes, a lot of it has to do with inefficient lighting that really is outdated, as well as lighting controls. There's a lot we can do with lighting and lighting controls to really reduce your energy costs. So I think that's a priority. There's also mechanical issues, some life safety issues such as smoke detectors, some mechanical units that have reached their useful life. And again, temperature controls could use a lot of updating in the building to increase the comfort of the occupants as well as reduce your energy costs. Probably one of the biggest issues that we found on the interior is the electrical service. Just outdated electrical service and panels that are insufficient for serving the building. And so those are things that we really recommend addressing. As far as plumbing goes, again, several code issues. There's no backflow preventer currently serving the building on the water service. and some ADA issues with the plumbing fixtures as well. And then moving down to the fire alarm, there is recommended improvements to the fire alarm system. So that's a very quick summary of some of the conditions that we found in the building. We think that in reconfiguring the building, a lot of these would be addressed anyway, as far as finishes and some of the controls with lighting and controls for mechanical systems. So I think it's a great approach to address these issues as well as address the functional issues within the building kind of at the same time. So I'm going to let Kelsey continue on and talk a little bit about our programming process and results from our programming.
So at the beginning of our programming process, we sent out department questionnaires, and they were just questions asking about workplace and how people work, how many employees you have, space needs for meeting spaces and other support spaces. So we sent out these questionnaires and then gave them about a week or two to fill out, and then we scheduled individual meetings with each group. So we met with each department, talked through the questionnaires, got a really good idea of what the space needs were for each group. After that, we took our information and created a space needs program. And we also developed some space standards, which kind of give just a general idea, office sizes, depending on your title, just kind of having more standard sizes for offices and conferencing rooms across the board. So you'll see here, this slide shows the summary based on each department and the usable square footage, giving us a total building usable square footage of around 25,000 square feet. And then Carrie's going to talk a little bit about the site plan.
Not sure if this pointer works. I'm not sure if this pointer works, but this is the site plan that we're looking at. The concept that we'll look at shortly on the floor plans, you'll notice that we have a connection point between the existing City Hall and the existing annex. That new connection between the two buildings would accommodate several things. One, it would solve a lot of the ADA issues that we currently have in the building. We'd be able to install one elevator that would serve all three levels. As you're very familiar, the lower level of the City Hall approximately aligns with the upper level of the annex. So because both buildings are two-level, we end up with three basic levels between the two buildings. So this addition would really bridge that and allow that accessibility into both buildings. It also allows for a very central welcoming point for the citizens and a really kind of a one-stop shop that will allow people to come into the addition and be able to access the service counters in one spot. We're also creating a kind of a drop-off, a new public entry point right there at the addition. And we're also proposing a new entry point into the parking lot off of Southwest 10th Street. And what that would do is it would give us a very direct visual to the new entry point as the citizens and employees and visitors come to visit the City Hall complex. As they enter into the site, they would have a direct view of the front entry. This plan also allows us to address the slope issue on the parking lot by eliminating that entry point from West Main Street. We're able to change the grade on the parking and really allow that to be a little bit more leveled out and not so steep, and address some of the accessibility and ADA issues there as well. This layout allows us to account for 90 parking spaces approximately, which through our programming process that Kelsey talked about, understand that would be very sufficient for the operations in the City Hall complex at this point.
All right, so after the space programming study, we developed a few different plan options, and we met with City Hall and went over those. So the plans that you'll see here today are kind of where we're at right now. So this floor plan is the upper level of City Hall. So you'll see south on the floor plan, the main entry right now is would become a city staff entry only, so helping with that security in the space. So you'll see here that entry vestibule. When you would walk into the space, there would be a main corridor that would link you to the public lobby and waiting area. So on this floor, we have a break area for all the City Hall employees. HR is located here in a separate suite. There's a large conference training room, public and private restrooms. There's also the administration, law, communications departments located on this level that are also behind a secured point with a service counter to interact with visitors. You'll also see here there's the public waiting lobby and an exterior roof deck that would allow employees or public to go out there on a nice day and maybe eat lunch, just kind of creating more community type spaces for you guys to have access to. This floor plan is the ground level of City Hall. So you'll see here towards the north part of the plan is where we've located the new public entrance where it's labeled vestibule. So that's where visitors would enter into the new addition into City Hall. And there would be a public lobby with a service counter where community development and utility billing would have employees manning that counter to be able to help visitors. And you'll see behind that security line, finance and IT are also located on the ground level. There's a conference room off of the public lobby that has access from the public and private side to have meetings with visitors. And you'll see here on this floor plan there's also just a variety of conferencing type spaces and workrooms to support the groups, what they had requested during the Space Needs program. And you'll also see here in the public lobby there's a new staircase, the elevator that's being proposed to service all 3 levels, and a public restroom as well. And moving over to the annex, this is the upper level of the annex, which would be connected to the lower level of City Hall. This is where the Public Works Department would be located. You'll see here they have a few offices, meeting space, workstations, some open meeting areas as well. And in this plan, the lower level of City Hall right now is being planned to be open storage where all the different departments could locate what they need down there, and it could be divided off with fencing, or there's a lot of different ideas that have been thrown out, but it gives Blue Springs, it gives you guys the ultimate flexibility for future if that lower level does need to become something else, but right now it's being programmed as storage. And here are some very conceptual renderings. This view is looking towards the new addition that would link the annex building and City Hall. You'll see here that plaza area where you'd walk onto as you are next to the parking lot, and there's the main entry vestibule. Having a lot of glazing to allow a lot of natural light in the space. And then we have a few more renderings of the interior to give you an idea of how that could feel. This is looking at the information desk for community development and utility billing, a waiting area. There's a lot of opportunities for display of public artwork. And you'll also see here there's, you kind of get a snapshot of that conferencing room that's off of the lobby area. And this rendering is of the upper level of the addition. You're looking towards the elevator and the new stair, giving visitors kind of the waiting areas and also employees, and just a nice link between the two buildings.
So before we get into questions, these are our next steps that we were proposing. We'd like to proceed with the next phase of development. We would like to go ahead and develop the estimated budget and create a funding plan, working with your staff. We're looking at using a CM construction management process for the delivery of the building, and so we were looking at that taking place here as well, and then developing the construction documents that would go out to bid. So those are really our next steps. I'd like to open it up for any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Seeing none, will you make some comments, Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, thank you. I just want to thank Carrie and Kelsey and Kevin for their good work on this first phase, and especially Adam Norris, who has been the primary point to get us through the initial phase of this project. There's a lot here. I'm proud of the fact that we are reusing what was given to us in 1961. And it's been almost 30 years since it was remodeled and put into its current configuration, and we're hoping that it'll be good for another 25 or 30 years to come, building in plans for some expansion. But really what this plan accomplishes is something we do not have now, and that is a one-stop shop for customers to come into City Hall. And I can't tell you how many times we have during the day when someone will come into our main building and we will have to redirect them to the annex. And we redirect them outside. It means it could be rain, it could be 95 degrees, whatever it is. It's not comfortable and it's not efficient. And so this project really accomplishes that. It also sets in place our reinvestment to the downtown corridor. It won't be quite as extensive as what we undertook with this particular project here at the Public Safety Building, but if we're on track with the council's goals for this particular complex, I think it'll be something we'll be very proud of. There's yet to be some work done to put the budget together and make certain that we can accommodate and accomplish what it is we'd like to, but I think we've set it in motion, and I think so far I'm really happy with what we've got.
Okay, Councilman Edmonds.
If I may, along the lines with Mr. Johnson, what he said, the one thing I think that's exciting about this plan being a downtown business and being downtown for a long time, that we're making use of what we have. We're also helping, I think, with this project and expanding the downtown in that we kind of go towards the north. We expand. Instead of going east-west, now we're looking at going north-south with the police department's new building here, the public safety building. Now with this, we actually are moving towards the north. So in taking what we have, but visually expanding the downtown, which I think will help the downtown immensely. So I think this is a good project. It's kind of a triad. We did the public safety. I think we did an excellent job with this building. We've always wanted to expand on Parks and Rec and give them their own building and provide much needed space there that the community could use. And I think we brought that in at a great budget price. And it's showing it as being well used. And so the third thing on this stool, this step stool, or however you want to say it, is downtown, is the City Hall. And this looks like a good project. It looks like it's a good start on this, and I'm looking forward to see where we go from here.
Very good. Councilman Carter, did you have your hand? Okay, no one else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Newman, for and your team.
Thank you.
And also Adam for your part in this. This brings us to mayoral announcements. I will continue to say I'm sick and tired of the killings. The latest one, and it hits home because last night a 22-year-old young lady with a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old son in the vehicle was shot and killed in Independence around 16th and Sterling by some road rage idiot. And I'm gonna call it exactly what it is. It's gotta stop. We've got to get our emotions in check and stop thinking that the solution to stuff is pulling a trigger. You take a life, you can't give it back. And I'm gonna continue to preach that sermon. The other thing is Councilman Culpepper and I did not exchange emails today, but we both have our pink on tonight because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's the reason I wore mine. I don't know why you wore yours, but that's why I wore mine. You just wanted to look good. That's okay. That brings me to Thoughts to Ponder. I started last week saying that since we're leading up to a presidential election, I was going to quote some past presidents. In the last council meeting, I started out with Missouri's own Harry S. Truman's quote. Tonight, I will quote President Abraham Lincoln, and I quote, "Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power," end quote. That brings us to visitors. I don't have any visitors' appearance forms, but I do know we have visitors in the audience. We have the Blue Springs Chamber of Commerce leadership class. We want to recognize them. Would you all stand up so we can see you? Leadership class for the chamber. Thank you for being here. You join, you are part, or you will, and when is graduation on that, Kim, or do you know, or Sharon? June. Shannon, I mean? Next June. But anyway, I appreciate you all participating in it because you'll learn a lot. Gives you an opportunity that you probably didn't have in the past to see how a lot of parts of the city function. And you might want to be a part of it. You know, boards and commissions, hint, hint, that I'm always looking for people to appoint to. That's all I have from the mayor's announcement standpoint, so I would defer to our city attorney for a motion to so move.
Your Honor, if I may real quick?
Yes.
Not only do you have this present class, but you also have some past graduates here tonight.
Yes.
I am one. Stacey Edwards is one.
I would
There are
imagine
several other people here that are
there are a
one.
number of people. Raise your hand if you're past. Yeah, so you're joining some great people here.
Yes.
And knowledge that you can draw from. So thank all of you, past and present, for your service. Now I would refer to the city attorney for a motion to so move.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, an appropriate motion would be to move that the council go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021, subparagraph 1, revised statutes of Missouri, for the purpose of privileged communications between a governmental body or its representative and legal counsel, including litigation. That any minutes, documents, and other records discussed or taken during the closed session remain closed, and that this body stand adjourned at the completion of such session.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Quibell?
Aye.
Councilman Lefsey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carries unanimously.
We're going to be excused to the executive conference room for an executive session. You all can stay around and visit or whatever and do whatever you want to do.